If you have a cell phone or a pager, please turn it off or set it to stun. You know how old you are if you can say stun and you remember it's Star Trek. It was a long time ago. Baruch Dayan Hamet, we praise the Judge of Truth. Begin with Psalm 121. Esai enai el haharim me'ayin yavo Ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai oseh shamayim va'aretz. Al yitain lamot raglecha, al yanum shomrecha. Hinei lo yanum v'lo yishan shomer Yisrael. Adonai shomrecha, Adonai tzilcha al yad yaminecha. Yomam hashemesh lo yakeka v'yarech balayla. Adonai shmarcha mikol ra, yishmor et nafshecha. Adonai shmar tzeitcha v'oecha, me'ata v'ad olam. I lift my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help comes from the Lord, maker of heaven and earth. The Lord will not let your foot give way. Your protector will not slumber. See, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian. He is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will guard you from all harm. He will guard your soul, your going and your coming, now and forever. Death has taken our beloved Neil Myers. Friends grieve in their darkened world. In their silence there is lamentation. In their tears there is loneliness. Lost in their sorrow, may they find the presence of loving friends. Hear them, O God, and be with them. For Neil's love that united many, many people in life and which death cannot sever, for his companionship that was shared along life's path and which continues through the tenderness of memory, for the gifts of his heart and the gifts of his mind that brought joy and happiness and is now a precious remembrance. For all of these and more, we give our thanks to God. This is a time of grief, and in this time of grief, we listen once again to the voice of our sacred scriptures from Sefer Tehillim, from the book of Psalms. It tells us of the ever-new message of God's nearness. It tells us of our kinship with the Creator. In light as in darkness, in joy as in sorrow, in life as in death. Together let us recite in English the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. It's a privilege to call forward the eldest son. Howard, if you know him as a child, Stephen, or Steve if you know him as an adult. So is Howard Stephen this morning to eulogize his dear father.
As the rabbi mentioned, my name is Howard Stephen Myers. Some of you do know me as Howard, others as Steve. I don't like using three names because usually you're considered pompous or lumped in with guys like Lee Harvey Oswald. So you probably didn't see that one coming. My father, Neil Myers, was the kindest, gentlest person I knew. He liked everyone and everyone liked him. He was born January 30th, 1932 to Max and Rebecca Myers in Cleveland, Ohio. He was the sixth of 7 children and brother to Herb, Ted, Beatrice, Leonard, Mort, and Phil. Early life wasn't easy for my dad. He loved being with his family, especially his brothers. So of course at age 4, the natural thing to do would be to send him away to live with his grandparents, whom he had never met before 100 miles away in Farrell, Pennsylvania. This was done without warning or explanation after the birth of his younger brother. Neil didn't want to cry because he was so angry. But life wasn't all bad at Grandma's house. In addition to going to public school, he was expected to attend Hebrew school every day, as well as Friday and Saturday morning services. I asked him, did he ever get a break? And he said, if Sunday school is considered a break, then yes. He hated being away from his family, and the overall experience had a profound effect on him. Although he was living his own personal Shawshank, the ordeal taught him how to be resilient, self-reliant, and independent, qualities that would serve him later in life. His grandfather completed the trifecta of bad parenting when at age 8, Neil made the simple comment that he missed his brothers. Within an hour, his grandfather had him packed on the next bus to Cleveland all by himself. He was supposed to be picked up by his cousin, but he gave his cousin the wrong time, so Neil was found wandering down the street. This was also the last time he would see his grandparents, thank goodness. Neil also fought through 3 bouts of rheumatic fever, the last one keeping him in bed for 6 months, forcing him to miss his last year of high school. But life did get better. Around the age of 13, Neil discovered what would be his lifelong passion and synonymous with his name, and that was table tennis. He played at the local rec center with the best players in Cleveland. Being left-handed gave him a tremendous advantage where he spun and slammed his way to many tournament wins. My dad would go on to become a 4-time champion at Kent State. After graduation, he was invited to play on the Ohio team that went to the U.S. Nationals. At that time, each state could invite 5 players to compete, and that 1959 Ohio team did win the championship. And one of the members on that team was local legend and businessman Danny Vay. But table tennis wasn't Neil's only interest. To my shock, Neil was also considered somewhat of a ladies' man. My father, yes, exactly. My father was looking for a nice Jewish girl, but he claimed to me that the only ones he could find either smoked, drank, or were crazy. So I said to him, what's the problem? However, the last girl he would go out with would be the last one he would stay with for the next 57 years, and that was the love of his life, Sandra. He met Sandra on a blind date and he immediately fell in love. My mom, on the other hand, took a little while to come around. They married in August of '61, exactly 1 year after their first date. I was born the following year and my sister the next year. My brother Andrew came along 9 years after that. Around the time my sister was born, Neil had been working as an administrator for a law firm when he had the opportunity to go to law school. But the only way he could do this with a young family and working was to go at night. He enrolled at John Marshall Law School where he struggled. In fact, the professor suggested that he might want to find another career, which enraged him and made him work even harder. He was the only one of his study group of 6 to graduate and pass the bar. One of my dad's proudest moments was receiving his law degree with his family and brothers in attendance in 1965. Neil would go on to join the law director's office in Euclid while practicing privately. He loved being a lawyer and helping people. His nephew Kenny would comment how even-tempered and calm he was, even when others might be losing their minds. Around the time he graduated from law school, his brothers formed what would be known as the Brothers Club. It's a couple would choose a restaurant on their anniversary where everybody would meet to spend a few hours together. They eventually let the cousins join, and Neil and Sandra loved going. He also became involved in the temple where he became an usher and also helped out wherever he could. Neil had stopped playing table tennis for about 20 years. In 1982, he got to play in an exhibition against Bobby Riggs at Euclid Square Mall. Bobby Riggs was playing anybody who wanted to come in and play, and my dad beat him in 3 games. Riggs told him to come back later, and my dad beat him again, and then Riggs actually suggested that he join and try the Senior Olympics. So for the next 30 years, Neil and Sandra would crisscross the country, where Neil would dominate any age group he was in. He won a total of 5 gold medals, 3 silver, and 2 bronze, leaving him behind Michael Phelps, but still ahead of Carl Lewis. In total, he amassed 1,200 trophies, plaques, and medals, including a proclamation from the city of Euclid after winning one of his gold medals. But no matter what was going on, he would always maintain contact with his brothers and was always interested in what his many nieces and nephews were up to. Everyone loved Uncle Neil. My dad also liked wordplay and puns. Again, Kenny reminded me one of his words he liked to analyze was the word gentleman, because you could have a gentle man in the word gentleman, which Neil was. One of his favorite puns was, what is the best time to make a dentist appointment? 2:30. Yeah, I got laughs, usually got groans, or there were crickets. My dad also liked to over-explain the simplest things. For example, when we'd be in a restaurant, he would tell me, a restaurant is a nice place. They sit you down, they give you your food, you can leave whenever you want. And, I would say to him, yes, Dad, I understand the concept. Stop spending my inheritance. Neil had many talents, but the thing that my dad was best at was loving others. And he loved his family more than anything, which included Marcia's husband, Bob, who passed away in 2017, his daughter-in-law, Linda, and, of course, his beloved granddaughter, Abigail. We were all with him this past Saturday. My dad was the kindest and warmest person anyone could know, as well as the greatest husband and father you could ask for. Last Thursday, when I was struggling watching him go down, he kept showing concern for my mom and my brother and my sister and myself. And then he would say to me, he goes, did I do enough to get into heaven? And of course I started crying, and I said to him, if he hasn't done enough, then heaven must be an empty place. Thank you.
Those words spoken as a prayer, and let us say amen. So many things about Neil. When we first met in 1997, he started talking about table tennis. And then the next thing that he talked about was if I ran across anyone in need of legal help, he would be willing to help the person. And he wouldn't charge, he said, pro bono. And that is, it's a rarity of a personality that he had. To just meet somebody right away, hey, Rabbi, yeah, if anybody in the league needs a little bit of legal help, I'd be happy to help out. Just want to let you know, because you probably run across people. Sweetheart of a guy. I'm wearing a Browns tie because, well, finally we can. And Neil was a big sports fan. He would watch with Andrew. They'd watch a lot of sports together. We gather today to fulfill the solemn obligation and solemn privilege of paying our respects to the memory of your dearly departed Neil Myers. His Yiddish name, they figured, was Nissen. Nissen comes from the word nes. Nes means miracle. And as Steve, as Howard just told us a little bit about early life, in some ways it's quite miraculous that he turned out to be the mensch that he turned out to be. We are nature and we are nurture. There's something deep inside, and he made choices to just be a good, decent guy. And thank God for that. His brother Philly spoke on the phone. We spoke yesterday, and he said that Neil was a kind and gentle soul, very wise. He was always helpful to me. I would frequently call him for advice. He was not intrusive. We grew up in the Glenville area, 95th and St. Clair, then moved to Cleveland Heights eventually. And he worked for City Hall, the city of Euclid, as an attorney. He was universally liked, universally loved, an all-around mensch. Next week we finish off the Torah portion, Vayechi, which is the last Torah portion in the book of Genesis. And our patriarch Jacob, in the sunset of his career, when he's about to depart this earthly abode, the Torah says very simply, Vayechi Yaakov. And Jacob lived. When you think about life, there's a lot of aggravation, but yet you can choose to live and not just kvetch about things. He chose to live. When you see a death notice in the newspaper, it's not really a death notice. It's a life notice about his life. He lived. He was a dynamic person, lived a good life of almost 87 years. Sandra and Neil were married just up the street at a place called Davis Colonial here on South Taylor. I've not been there, but somebody remembers that place. And Sandra said that Neil had a very, well, they said he had a very corny sense of humor, and that other people would laugh at what Neil would say, but she didn't really laugh. And she said, you know, I didn't marry him to laugh. I mean, you know, I wasn't told I had to laugh at him. So she said she remembered the rabbi's name was, I think, Rabbi Lowenthal. Is there a Rabbi Lowenthal? Yes? She's not sure, she said. And I said, you know what? That just shows how important the rabbi is at a wedding. And people don't remember. So whatever his name was, he's of blessed memory by now. He did a good job because you're married more than 57 years. Not only your children, but you're blessed with a granddaughter, Abigail. So you're blessed with 3 children, and Steve's wife, Linda, and Marcia's husband of blessed memory, Robert, passed away in 2017, and Andrew, and then the granddaughter, Abby. I think she likes Abby better. And on Saturday, on Shabbat, Neil breathed his last. Now there's no more pain or deterioration. There's just rest and wholeness and peace. Just as Shabbat is a time of rest, so too this is a time of rest for Neil, a time of rest. His soul is returning to God, to be with the souls of his relatives and friends and the ancestors of our people. We learn this in Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 7. The dust returns to the earth as it was. The spirit returns to God who gave it. One day, all of us will join our loved ones in a time. It's called Olam Haba, the world to come, as opposed to heaven. People talk about heaven quite often. You think about it's a place. Olam Haba is a time, and it's an eternal time. So this is a place. Olam Haba is an eternal time. God judges our deeds, not our beliefs or what we say we're going to do. God judges what we do. And in so many ways, for your dear Philly is going to get a DVD of this, for your dear brother, and for your dear husband, your dear father, your dear grandfather, your dear friend, your dear brother-in-law. There's so much to judge in a very, very good way. God will take good care of him. The family has allowed us to send along an old, well-prayed-from prayer book in the casket, because not only is it a mitzvah, a religious obligation to escort the body of your loved one to its final resting place, but also holy books of our tradition. You have many, many memories of Neil Myers. And as we give thanks to God for this gift of long life, almost 87 years, we should think deeply and profoundly about how we can live to have Neil's memory live on in our lifetimes. There's so many things you can do. You can learn how to play table tennis. I don't know if any of you do. At our synagogue in the library, we have a pool table and a ping pong table on top of it. Neil liked that. He wasn't ever healthy enough to play the table tennis, but you know, we're going to make sure to pull that thing out. What's actually there, I just have to pull the tablecloth off of it for the kids to see it. And we'll play a little table tennis. Anybody in the family play? Do you play? All right, good. We'll bring you over. You can coach them up, because that would not be something I could do. And be a kind and decent person and offer your help to people, just as Neil did. And so let us do these things, because when we do them, the world is compensated a little bit for the loss of this good, decent person, this mensch. And so we conclude with words from the first chapter of the book of Job. Adonai natan, v'Adonai lakach, yehi shem Adonai mevarach. The Lord hath given, the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Amen. Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, Yahaseh Shalom, Yahaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yahaseh Shalom, Yahaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. May God, who causes peace to reign in the high heavens, cause peace to rain down upon us, upon all Israel, upon humanity, and upon the soul of our dearly departed Neil Myers. And let us say, Amen. Please rise for El Malei Rachamim. Into your care, O God, we entrust the spirit of Neil Myers, for you keep faith with your children in death as in life. Sustain us that we may meet with serenity the mysteries that lie ahead, knowing that when we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you, O God, are with us, a loving friend in whom we put our trust. You are the light of our life, our hope in eternity. El Malei Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Hametzeh Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, Im Kedoshim Utohorim, Kezohar Harakia Mazirim, Et Nishmat Nisin, Shahalach L'Olamo, Baal Harachamim, Yastirehu B'Seter Knafav Le'olamim, Vayitzroh B'Tzroh HaChaim, Et Nishmato, Adonai Hu Nachalato, V'yanuach B'Shalom Al Mishkavo, V'nomar Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to our dear Neil Myers, Nissen, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in the shadow of your wings, and let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. Please be seated for a moment. We will be given instructions we're going to go in procession to Zion Memorial Cemetery. If you're not going to the grave with us, we'll be at the Myers house at 32906 Lisa Lane in Solon in about an hour and 15 minutes from the time we pull out, hour and 15, hour and a half, and we'll do a few prayers at the house and have the mourner's meal. The family has asked that should you wish to make donations in Neil's loving memory, in lieu of flowers, make a donation in Neil's loving memory to the USA Table Tennis. USA Table Tennis. It's in Colorado Springs, Colorado. You have to look this up. All right, USATT. Or other charities of your choosing, but when you consider them, please make this one the first one. So the gentleman will come forward, and we'll go in procession. Please stay here in the chapel, and then after the casket goes out, we'll follow behind and head out. And we'll say Kaddish for Neil this afternoon at Hebrew School. We're going to say Kaddish for a whole month. The kids are going to get reps on the Kaddish on Wednesdays and on Sundays. And of course, Friday night services for the next month. It'll be our privilege to say the Kaddish prayer as well.